We often went out to explore some places after school, just regular kid stuff. There was some kind of ranch that shared a limit with my school. We always passed through it on the way home without giving much thought. But then, one day, me and two of my best friends decided to go inside. Its entrance had a lot of grass and dense vegetation. It always looked abandoned or neglected, that's why it seemed perfect to take a look. As we went through the small wooden gate, we were basically in the woods, trees and plants all around us. By taking a few steps forward, we spotted a shack that was at the very end of a downhill, about 200 meters from us. As we took a few more steps forward, we saw no one. But then, after a few minutes there, I noticed, from afar, something really unsettling and unexpected just outside that same shack. A tree trunk with a severed head on top of it, and a hatchet stuck to it. At first, I thought it was just an uncertain glimpse, but then I pointed my finger and my two other buddies confirmed that very thing I saw. We thought on going there to take a closer look, but we started to hear an enraged man screaming coming from there. We saw him coming out of the shack, so we ran like crazy to our left, leading to a handmade upper passage that ended on the end of that ranch. We climbed the barbed wire there, and then we were at the streets again. I'm not sure the guy sighted us, though. Before going each one our separated ways, we spent some time trying to make sense of what we experienced. We decided then to return there on the next day, just out of curiosity. The following day came. After school, we went to that same place, with a bit more of caution on our minds. However, this time there were pit bulls on large leashes guarding the spot right after the entrance. So we couldn't go any further without risking our physical integrity, or drawing too much attention from whoever lived there. After some time, we went there on a few other occasions, but without getting close enough to sight the shack clearly again. We always kept what we saw to ourselves, and eventually, we forgot about that. Probably better that way. I'm not even sure someone would believe us in case we had told anyone anyway. Regardless, from time to time, the image of that head comes to my mind. It's a memory that comes and goes that makes me really thoughtful about what we saw that day. I still wonder what could have happened. In 2018, I lived with my partner and my German Shepherd in the Humboldt Park neighborhood of Chicago. I was 33 years old, and our apartment was a fourth-floor walk-up unit, very typical low-budget Chicago rental in a changing neighborhood. The layout of our building is going to matter to this story. Our building had a total of 12 units. Mine and the 3 below me had a shared front entrance, and the other 8 units were through a second entrance. All 12 apartments had connected back porches and stairs that shared a walkway to a rear gate, which lead to an alley. From the front stairwell, there are windows on each landing to the back porches, so you can see the back door of my apartment when standing at the front door through that window. We had good relations with our neighbors, especially those that lived directly below us and shared our front door. This was the thing that saved all 3 of us. My partner was in a touring band at the time, and would leave for weekends or weeks at a time, and it was a scary thing for me BC I was SA'd and stalked by an ex in my teens and 20s. I always worried something would tip him off and he'd start stalking me again. A little less than a month before a 2-week tour my partner had scheduled, I received a creepy FB message from that stalker ex from yet another new account. About a week after that my car was broken into. The glove box was emptied, things were thrown around, but the only thing that was taken was a bag of dog treats. I had about $20 in change in the compartment between the seats, and they left the money. I was on high alert at that point, and very scared about the time I'd be alone during the tour. My partner was kind of irritated with me and the situation and felt that it was too last minute to cancel. Especially over what amounted to a bad feeling and a few isolated things that weren't direct threats. And truthfully, car break-ins are very, very common in Chicago. It's happened to me like 15 times, and police usually do the reports over the phone, and don't even come to the scene. What I found really strange was that the thief didn't take the money. There was a homeless man who had started camping on the boulevard nearby recently. My partner left for his tour, and I set up cameras and bought door braces for my front and back doors. I became completely nocturnal, unable to sleep at night. My poor dog developed diarrhea, maybe because she was picking up on my stress level. It meant that I was taking her down all 4 flights of stairs for her to go blast her bowels 6 or 7 times a night. I had the distinct prickly crawling sensation of being watched when I would take her out. But I couldn't tell what was genuine, and what was my own fear and paranoia. Her diarrhea lasted an unusually long time, like 3 or 4 days. I was going in and out the main door a lot, feeling very scared, and I noticed that some of my neighbors wouldn't pull the door all the way closed, so the lock engaged. I mentioned it to my downstairs neighbor one day, including that I was extra careful BC of the stalker. He was supportive, said he'd mention it to the other neighbors if he saw them, and I noticed that the door was locked more frequently after that. My partner came home at about 11 a.m. on a Sunday morning. At about 8:30 a.m. that morning, my first-floor neighbor's place was burglarized. He was a metalhead dude who collected instruments, sold weed and psychedelics, and lived alone. I guess he went out for breakfast, and he left his door unlocked while he was gone. Someone had come in, eaten the leftovers in his fridge, took a coat and pair of boots, took his college diploma but left $500 in the same cabinet. They left all the expensive musical instruments and mixing equipment, left the drugs, but did take a set of keys. The keys were to the first-floor apartment, and a master key for front door and the back gate. My neighbors ran into each other right after the break-in, and the second-floor neighbor said to, "Go tell No Donut because she has a stalker." So my metalhead neighbor came up to let me know what had happened. My partner had just gotten home from his tour when he knocked at the front door. I jumped out of my skin but looked through the peephole, recognized him, and the three of us stood on the stairs at my front door while he told us about the break-in. We jabberjawed for a while, about 15 to 20 minutes. While we were talking we heard the front door open and close below us but thought nothing of it. Then we saw a man climbing up my back porch steps to my back door through the window. There was no other apartment he could have been going to, and he had to walk past all 11 more accessible units on his way to mine. He was not my stalker. I did not recognize him, but his image is burned in my mind. He was wearing flashy black and white high-top sneakers. His black coat was oversized and hanging off his shoulders. We locked eyes through the window, and he froze halfway up the stairs to my back porch. He slowly took a cell phone and called someone as he slowly turned around halfway up the steps. He walked back down the stairs in artificially slow motion, like he was pretending to be nonchalant, and then bolted into a sprint as soon as he hit the porch below mine. My neighbor ran downstairs and dialed 911. My partner and I ran through the apartment to the back porch and saw a sedan and a windowless van pull out from the sketchy building 2 doors down. Both cars floored it out of the alley. We didn't get the plates, but the cops said it wouldn't have mattered. There wasn't any crime committed and nothing concrete to justify stopping them. They very condescendingly explained this to me as they took my statement later. My neighbor is the one who actually made the call and has the police report. My partner and I were just considered witnesses. For a long time the thing that scared me the most was the tool that my neighbor found when he went running downstairs. It was a 2x4 piece of wood, cut to about 2 feet, but about 6 inches of it had been made into a handle. It looked like a paddle and for a long time I couldn't figure out what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was a ram for the door jam locks. When I looked at my door afterward, it looked like the frame had been repaired, like it had been broken open before. It seems like they used the one master key to place their ram, get somebody at the back door to catch me if I tried to run out that way. And somebody else was going to come back around and they'd break in my front door and go forward with whatever they had planned. When we caught them before they could catch me unaware, they seemed to have aborted the plan. I suspect they'd been watching me, especially while I was taking out my dog, and figured that I was alone. It was pure coincidence that my partner had gotten home 30 minutes before all this. I feel that we all could have been horribly injured or worse had we been trapped inside and they had gotten the jump on us. Nothing else ever came of it, except that my landlord refused to change the locks, but he did agree to let us out of our lease. I moved out of Chicago, and now have added a younger dog I'm training to do some bite work. My house is surrounded by cameras and floodlights and wingnut neighbors. So whoever was on my back porch, and whatever they had planned, let's not meet.